Welcome up, new guest. Are you 18 plus?
Yeah, I'm 42.
Wonderful. May we get your pronouns, please?
He, him.
Excellent. Do you believe in a god?
Existentially, but yes.
And which one would that be?
Uh, I guess the best way would be like the Christian God, but not uh, in the way the Bible describes it. It's the best way to put that. Like, I grew up Baptist, but I have a lot of logical problems, and but I'm the one he was talking about, actually, with that argument, just about love in general. Like, why would
Okay,
you
so
hate?
for the
You would
for the
hate
sake of
them?
this conversation, you're going to be a Christian.
Yes. Oh yeah,
Okay, gotcha. So my friend Decon is going to have a conversation with you. Is that okay?
that's fine.
Wonderful.
Okay, so when you say you worship God, but not the one in the Bible, or at least not according to the Bible, what do you mean by that? Do you have like your own separate view you got from somewhere? Could you expand on that?
Well, just okay. Like, first off, if you go biblically, um, the, God sets his own limits. And because God sets his own limits, first off, that he can't be all powerful in the sense that people are making an argument to be. He's talking. I can't even speak for God, just for the fact that a being that could potentially create a universe outside of our local state isn't bound by our sense of understanding of like physics or the law of conservation of energy or any of that. It couldn't be. But that outside, I was just talking about the love factor. Like, if your child does a deed you hate, do you hate the child? No. You still love the child. You hate the deed. You don't condone the act,
True,
but
but
you still love the child.
would you victimize your child for doing the act?
What do you consider victimizing the child?
Okay, so we can go to 2 Kings 2, 23, 24, where
Okay.
some kids go out and tell Elijah he's bald, and God's way of loving his children, but not the act, is he feeds them to bears. 42 of them, to be a fact, fed to two bears, which if you've ever seen a bear attack, that's like 5 minutes per person. So that's like 200 something
Yeah,
minutes.
they're pretty vicious.
Yeah, 200 minutes of kids getting eaten and torn up by bears. How is that love?
I don't know. Women still pick the bear.
True, but God hasn't sent a bear to unalive 42 women in the Bible, though I don't put it past them. But in the Bible, you know, that's what we know of God. These are stories that they wrote down in books that God did. Well, that God decided to feed children to bears. How is that a good God? Like, how's that love?
I mean, you want to go with in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, like, how's that? How, in any scheme of things, how is it love to feed children to bears?
If the spirit is eternal. But this isn't Second Kings though, so this is before the human form and Jesus and all that. That was a pretty wrathful God. Wasn't that the Jewish God?
Well, the Jewish God is the Christian God. They worship the same thing. In fact, Jesus would have worshipped the Jewish God, if that's you want to separate it like that. Remember, Jesus endorsed slavery, so
Yeah, I had a problem with that one too. But
I can imagine
also,
a good problem to have.
it's also the human's free will.
But according to the Bible, God doesn't care about free will. He violates it whenever he feels like it.
How does he violate it?
The easiest one is Jonah. Jonah didn't want to do what God said, and so he threw him over a boat and fed him to a fish. Then you can look at Job. Job was just
didn't didn't Jonah survive? Did Jonah
we can't
survive?
hear you if you're talking.
What? I said, did Jonah survive the fish?
Yes, but he still got his free will violated.
That's not violating a free will. Was Jonah able to not make his choice?
And he chose to disobey God, and then God tortured him until he decided to obey God. So he wasn't really given a free will. He was given choice, but not a free will.
That's free will.
Free will
You
is to
still
be
have the
without
choice.
constraint. Act without constraint or necessity of fate. God placed a constraint on Jonah rather than just let him be his way. Free will would have been Jonah getting away from what he wanted and going off to live a normal life. God decided that he wasn't allowed to do that.
I thought free will had Jonah wouldn't even have the choice to make. Regardless of the consequence, you still have the choice.
Well,
In
no,
of itself.
He made a choice, and it wasn't the choice God wanted. So God tortured him until he made the choice God wanted him to make. If it had been free will, God would not have put that constraint on him and would have let him go on his merry way.
All right, then we're just disagreeing with what we think free will is.
I go off the basic definition of free will as being the ability to choose without constraint or necessity of fate. And when you have a divine being who is putting a constraint on you, that means it's violation of free will. And then technically, if you want to look at it, there's nowhere in any Bible that it says free will. It never mentions free will. God never even brings it up. The idea of free will was not created until Christianity.
The word homosexual wasn't even used until 1984 in a German text, so I get that part.
I mean, look at Lucifer. Lucifer was a pagan god for the Romans. That wasn't until King James decided he wanted to manipulate the text and create a political weapon in making his own Bible that Lucifer first showed up in the Bible. Well, I'm not in Willy Wonka's factory. Nerds in another state.
Wasn't Constantine like the whole New Testament, pretty much? Just so
Constantine Constantine was the one who wanted to control Christianity by unifying it, and so they had like the Council of Nicaea where they came together and said, "Right, we're gonna stop teaching all the weird shit. You learn what we want you to learn." King James came later when he was trying to manipulate text to create a political weapon for his own power.
Do you see why there's so much problems with the Bible?
Well, yeah, the Bible has dozens of contradictions. The anonymous writers who were translating into Greek couldn't even agree on what decade Jesus was born in. The whole Bible is a mythological, like, fan fiction of reality.
But then, like, I guess this is my own personal struggle, is like being a logical person, believing in science, believing in physics, believing in being bound by the laws that we have, and then thinking existentially, and then feeling all at the same time, like all of it's merged. And I'm like, how do I still have this? I still have this personal relationship, right? Or this personal, I don't know, moral guidance, moral compass, whatever, this tether to whatever I think my God is, because I still, have conversations in my own head, and like I feel I still have that feeling, and I'm like, it's weird because I don't think I'm just accessing my pineal gland and, dripping some acid onto my brain to feel this feeling.
But you could be. I mean, look at love. Love, they've kind of measured down to like,
yeah, but that's just like
oxytocin.
dopamine and oxytocin. Yeah.
Why
So
isn't
unless the same
of,
synapses are present when you're connecting with shit, they really could be.
I mean, everything we do could be boiled down to neurons firing in our head and chemicals interacting in our brains. Yeah, we feel it, great.
Well,
but
shit, that's reality, though.
Yeah, but I don't think a magical ghost got put into my body when my dad and mom decided to do it, and then that's why I feel things.
No, and it's deeper than that, though, because it's like, I don't know. I also think, like, it's kind of also like why I own a gun or carry condoms. Like, I'd rather have them than not need them than need them and not have them.
But yeah, you gotta say pew pew. But yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, pew pew. Just, God, I hate TikTok. We can't just talk like normal people.
And you sound like you worship a God, but it doesn't really sound like you worship the Christian God.
I feel like it's my own interpretation of the Christian God, because I also believe like there is a lot of good moral substantiability. What the hell is that word?
Substantiation.
It's close. I think I might be trying to combine two words right now. I got off a 14-hour shift, so I'm still trying to. But anyway, there's substantial like moral guidance that can be found, just like you could pick apart the Bible and find millions of things wrong with it. You can also pick apart the Bible and find millions of things that are great about it. I don't understand the hatred of shellfish, though. That's really odd.
Well, yeah. God hated shellfish, but he didn't hate slavery. He said, "Don't
more than anything.
Don't wear garments with mixed fabrics, but you can grape."
Like and another thing is like I'm wondering if like the understanding of definitions of what stuff was at the time, you know what I mean? Like it has transformed over the years, and we're trying to apply modern understanding of our definition to an ancient understanding, which is what I don't know. There's also an argument of an alien god, you know what I mean, with technology, and that's the best that we could understand this thing that could do all this stuff.
Well, I think that the morality shown in the Bible is due to patriarchy and misogyny and the people writing the Bible, which is why women were treated as products and cattle, things to be traded and sold, rather than human beings, because at that time it was a very misogynistic patriarchal system, which is why you look in Deuteronomy 22:23 through 24, if a great woman doesn't scream out, she is to be unalived. So she had her mouth covered. God wanted her to be unalived. Messed up, I know.
No, I know. I as soon as you, I knew what passage you were talking about. Like I said, it's full of crazy crap. That's why I believe what I believe.
That's why I say it doesn't sound like worshiping the Christian God.
Maybe not. But reality is perception, so
Imagine like this. I come to you and I
But
say,
hey,
hey, dude. Go ahead.
for the prompt, my God's pretty good.
But I don't think it's a Christian God, though.
Maybe not, but for the prompt's sake, my God is pretty badass. Whatever that means.
Where would you learn about your God?
Where would I learn about that? Honestly, it's like, damn, that's a good question. I don't know. This was years of honestly questioning the Bible, but still somehow having a faith in that feeling that I have.
And you're right where I was right before I became atheist. I had put aside the Christian Jewish God, and I had come up with this. I come up with this sense that, all right, there's got to be a God. He's good. He loves us. Maybe he doesn't have enough power anymore because he used it all creating the cosmos. I had all sorts of excuses, all sorts. But I had to put aside the Christian God and everything in the Bible to get there, because that God is horrible. I mean, imagine if I came up to you and I said, Monster, I got this God. Awesome, right. Good guy. Great. Well, he told this one guy not to do something, and because this guy didn't do anything, he punished billions of people. Like cancer, miscarriages, broken legs, everything. Everything horrible you can think of. He did all this because that guy did one thing he was supposed to not do. Would you say, man, that's a good God? Or would you say, that's a shitty God, man? He's punishing billions with torture and suffering because of one guy?
Was it because of one guy?
Technically, it was, but for the argument's sake, if I came and told you that, one guy was like, don't hopscotch on Tuesday, or I'm going to unalive you. And the guy goes and hopscotches on Tuesday, and then I'm like, I'm screwing the rest of humanity with this. You would think I was pretty much an a-hole, and my God was an a-hole, wouldn't you?
Oh, that is trying to simplify shit, though.
I understand, but you get the point. If my God told a guy not to hopscotch, and instead he gave billions of people cancer, because that one guy went and hopscotched on Tuesday, what would your opinion of that God be?
In a simple form, yeah, that God's kind of a douche.
And then I'm like, no,
but
he's not a douche. No.
On the other side, though, hold on. On the other side, though, if you go on the other deep end, like, God is what? Timeless. God is eternal, right? He knows the end game. All right, follow me on this logic here, or this thought process. If God knows the end game, and he has to put, for some reason, whatever God's end game is, where everybody's happy in the very end, but all of these bad things must happen, and all of this domino effect has to happen in a very specific order over eons and all of time for the end game to be everybody's happy and loving and in heaven and blah, blah, blah. Would that God be awesome? Because all of the suffering that had to happen happened because the end game was awesome?
Yeah, but I would say, well, if he's all powerful and all knowing, why did he make any of them suffer? Why not just send them all to paradise?
That's another problem. Hold on. That's another problem. Because he says that he's an almighty God, but God puts limits on himself.
Well, do you think that God...
So he can't be all powerful. Even no. God cannot contradict himself. First Corinthians 14. Okay. Because he can't, because it's illogical to do something. No, God's not going to do it. That's actually one of the limits that God places on God. Very strange, but that makes him not all powerful because he has his own limits. God cannot lie. He's not powerful enough to tell a lie. He's not powerful enough to tempt or be tempted. I know the story of Job and the devil. I get it. Whatever. We're not going there.
Job. No, Adam. The story of Adam was he lied to Adam right out the gate. He said, if you bite this fruit, you will unalive this very day. Adam got 950 more years.
See, that's weird, though, because I've read different versions where it wasn't you'll just drop dead or unalive. You'll just unalive. Now it's in a cosmic sense. Like, I mean, that could be a blip in existence. We are a blip in existence anyway. So, to a being that's outside of time, how do you even explain that to a primitive person?
Well, I mean, God did create day and night, so God would have created a 24-hour period. So when he told Adam, you're going to unalive the day you bite that apple, and Adam's like, all right, bite. 950 years later, then he unalives. That seems like a lie, because he didn't unalive that day. So God created the first lie. God created lying, essentially. The other thing I wonder is, okay, after Adam and Eve bit the apple and got, or whatever health fruit it's supposed to be, and got the knowledge of good and evil, why did they immediately think nudity was evil?
Yeah, that's weird. And something I've had a problem with, how is God looking for Adam and Eve in the garden?
I think he was just wandering around, hanging out, taking some devil's lettuce.
But he knows where they are.
Yeah, why would he ask something so illogical if you already have the answer to it? Why did God create them naked, knowing that nudity was evil, and that when they bit the apple, they understood that nudity was evil? Why would nudity be evil? That's how we're born in the world, nude.
Right. But again, though, you have to go on the other side, too. It's like we exist in 3 dimensions, and we exist through time. And if a being outside of that state has the ability to create a universe, first off, I don't know why he would just pick us, but it's weird.
Well, I don't think.
But why would he also be? But why would he be bound, or why would it be bound to our understanding of anything, of physics? Although that throws any logical debate out of the window for or against. You know what I'm? Does that make sense?
No, I don't think he chose us. Like, if there is a God, and he is outside of time and space, and he created trillions of stars and planets and asteroids and things, there's got to be life on
Why
other
can't
planets.
we just be a side project for this guy?
Why? Yeah, I mean, we could have been the freaking blueprint, and he's got some alien race flying around like Viltrumites, running around and flying around and doing shit, and we're just the dumb kids. We're the redheaded stepchildren of God's family.
I take offense to that. I'm a ginger.
But you get my point.
But I get it. No, I do. No, and these are my questions. But because of a very illogical prayer, I had my bike stolen at 12, and I was... It was so strange.
Yeah, but it's like you're
mathematically coincidence was
maybe God
higher
was busy.
improbability than God. That's how sad it was. But yeah, my bike was just sitting there after prayer, like in front of an open field with nothing around it.
Maybe God was trying to help a little old lady find her keys, and he was like, keys or a bike? I think I'm going to go with the keys.
So, I don't know. Like, ever since then, I'm like, no, God's my dude. I don't know about the rest of this Bible thing, but whatever I pray to, unless I manifested it in the universe and all the particles just made the bike that I got stolen right there, which coincidentally could have happened. Or the person who stole my bike just decided to leave it around a corner in an open field with nothing around it on its kickstand on the sidewalk. It's very illogical in any sense, even with prayer, but this is the foundation of my belief and faith. I can't, it's so strange because I can't shake myself of it.
And it took me till the age of 44 to shake 40. I was 40 when I finally shook it. Because I was desperately holding on under the pretenses, I don't want to not exist after my body dies. That was the only reason. That was the sole reason.
That has nothing to do about. Whoa! I have new questions about my own, I guess, validity because, I don't even know how to explain this. Heaven's not my end game. Hell's not my end game. I have no qualms about what happens to me after my mortality ends. I'm not afraid of
worship the Christian God. Everything you say sounds less and less and farther away from Yahweh. Because that's his whole bit, like, obey me or burn. You need to worry about the end game. Well, worry about what you're doing now.
Actually,
worry about the end game.
I don't know, because there's a lot of theologians, whatever, guys that research biblical stuff.
Theologians.
Thank you. That's the pronunciation I was looking for there. There's a lot of them that believe that that hell is a consequence of sin. It's not. God doesn't send you there. God is like the cop out. God is the get out of hell free card, basically, or Jesus was. I'm not sure where that comes into play, but like,
do you want to be in a heaven with
hell is
Jeffrey Dahmer? Is that the heaven you want to go to? Oh, the Yahtzees who said, "I'm sorry, Jesus," right before they got unalived.
Well, no, there's. I guess it's supposed to be like more faith and belief, and it's weird. I was in a different debate years ago about like, well, can a world exist where free will is still an option, but sin isn't there? And I'm like, wait, isn't that just heaven?
Yeah, heaven, there's no free will. You're a robot and an automaton designed solely for worship.
Technically, logically, there is an if and a then. However, like, yes, you do have free will. However, you just don't choose to sin. That is still a possible outcome.
No,
regardless if you can't wait. Right, there is no sin in heaven because anybody in heaven chooses to never sin.
And then you don't have free will because you telling me right now a corn star going to heaven isn't going to try to get with other corn stars in heaven?
That's not the logical debate. That's a conclusion that you could make. However, it's a if-then situation.
Heaven is an illogical situation. There's a accountant sitting out front with his angel wings, and there's some pearly gates, and there's a bunch of golden roads and castles and shit. And then you go to live forever while your relatives who watched you through your entire life, and God was playing voyeur your entire life. And then you're like, now I get to be the voyeur. I hope to God, like, my parents aren't watching me. Oh, that'd be kind of gross.
I mean,
the free will thing, the free will is also debunked by the story of Pharaoh. Pharaoh he called Aaron and Moses to surrender. He was going to give up the slaves. He even said to God, "God, look, I'm sorry, I give up. I'm going to let your people go." And God said, "Nope, I'm going to harden your heart and I'm going to unalive some babies." So he screwed with Pharaoh's free will. When Pharaoh wanted to give up, God refused to let him give up. That's not free will. Or to act without constraint or necessity of fate, Lot's wife shouldn't have been turned into a pillar of salt. She should have had the free will to look back and then go home with her family afterwards.
Well, I mean, maybe free will was a little more strict a couple thousand years ago.
No, you know it's not. I would say that if there's anything that is allowed...
I don't think the word
choice.
constraint existed 2,000 years ago.
Free will is a philosophical bullshit term to try to explain things. But according to the free will, I should be able to fly into the sky and crap gold bricks whenever I feel like it. But I can't because I am constrained by physics and reality and anatomy and science. And I'm constrained by all the laws of the universe. I can't crap gold bricks whenever I feel like it. So therefore, I don't have free will. No, it's kind of a term, way to describe it, but no, I don't have free will.
No,
I can't go into a bank, take all the money I want, and walk out and be like, that's my free will. Don't put a constraint of prison on me.
See, that's the problem, because you do have the choice to do something like that.
I have free choice, not free will.
Ah, so we're arguing semantics.
Well, free will is without constraint. Free choice is you're given a set of circumstances you can choose from, and you will pay the consequences or there for the after effects. So that would...
I'm pretty sure that's just what free will meant back then.
Free will didn't exist back then. Free will was created by Christians to say, hey, your life is going to suck, and people are going to screw with you, but they're screwing with you because they have free will. But don't worry, afterwards, there's pearly gates and pancakes in heaven.
I would rather have waffles.
Our timer's done, so we are going to move on to the next guest.